of the Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. I am Nico Navarro, the president of the Asian Student Union, and I am here to give a review of the APA community during the past year and where I want to bring our community for the upcoming school year. This year has been a great year for the Asian Student Union. Throughout the year, ASU collaborated with other organizations for service events. Just to name a few, we had the Paint War for charity in collaboration with Lambda Phi Epsilon and the Chinese Student Association. The proceeds of this event benefited the Be the Match Foundation, an organization focused on delivering cure for blood cancers. In addition, we had China Ball, which was a co-sponsorship between ASU, CSA, LFE, and ISA. This year, the event focused on supporting Wild Aid China, an organization dedicated to the ending of illegal wildlife trade by implementing awareness programs for endangered animals. Lastly, ASU collaborated with OIFA, Phan, Lambda, and KSA for Make Kids Happy. During this event, participants made goodie bags for the kids in the UVA hospital. I just want to give a huge shout out to our outgoing ASU service chairs, Soon Hong Choi, Whitney Wu, and Victoria Nguyen, for all their accomplishments during the year. We also hosted our annual date auction during APAHM. We were able to raise $2,262 towards the National Network to End Domestic Violence. I would like to give another shout out to our outgoing outreach chairs, Catherine Jang, Aaron Liu, and Michael Ramada for all their hard work and the successful semi-formal. None of these would have ever occurred if it weren't for the outgoing ASU Executive Board. All the exec, please stand up and be recognized. Yeah.
Hi.
Thank you all so much for your hard work, and it has been an honor working with you all. Yana, don't worry. I will make sure that ASU doesn't crumble down, and I will make you proud. Promise. On top of that, our constituent organizations have done well this year. In October, the Vietnamese Student Association hosted the Color Me Cured 5K with Alpha Phi Omega and Homecomings to benefit Relay for Life. I just want to commend VSA for this event, especially for receiving Best CIO co-sponsorship during the 2014 CIO Awards by Studco. And I also just want to congratulate everyone for all the successful culture shows. This year has been a year of accomplishments, but I don't think we should stop. We should use this momentum to catapult ourselves to the university and the Charlottesville community. If you guys weren't aware, 2014 is the Asian Student Union's 30th anniversary, so I have big plans for our community. For the next year, my goal is to make sure that ASU truly embodies the APA spirit. I will start with reforms with internal and external counsel and work my way out to the university community. ASU will act as a resource for all the organizations that fall under our umbrella. Lastly, I want us, the APA community, to be more prevalent in the university community through our events and service activities. None of this would be possible without my executive board. Please stand up and be recognized. My new board. Hi. I'm being ambitious with my plans, but I can't do it without your help. So I ask you all to come together so we can leave our mark in the university, because this is the time to do it. Now it's time to go back to our event. APAHM is a celebration of Asians and Pacific Islanders in the United States. Nationally, it's celebrated in May, but since we're not around here, like during May, we celebrated it during April here in the university. This year's theme is Breakthrough. We wanted to focus on highlighting Asian Pacific Americans breaking through cultural barriers and pursuing unconventional careers. For opening, we had fourth years in our community discuss their UVA experiences. We also invited J.R. Kino to come perform for us in collaboration with Autism Speaks. And last week, we had G. Yamazawa perform spoken word, which was a mind-blowing experience. I just want to take time and recognize our outgoing APAHM chairs, Michelle Zhang, Jessie Zhao, and Annie Luo, for all of their hard work for the past year. And I also want to introduce our new APAHM chairs, Zenaiza, Zoe, and Michelle. Zenaiza, Zoe, and Michelle. Please come up here. So they will be like our new APAHM chairs for the next year, and they will be doing APAHM and APAHM. Thank you for coming back, Michelle, to ASU. And now I would like to invite Victoria Nguyen up here to introduce our guest speaker today.
my name is Victoria Nguyen, and it's more than an honor to introduce the speaker of the evening. The first time I met him was back at the Filipino Cultural Center in Virginia Beach for the Asian Pacific American Heritage Organization Scholarship Award ceremony. Luckily enough, I got to meet him a second time on a slightly more personal level this past January when I snuck off to the Mid-Atlantic Union Vietnamese Student Association conference without my parents knowing. Sometimes breaking barriers and doing things you aren't told that you cannot do can be way more rewarding than you expect. Cough, cough, APAHM theme. I'm beyond excited for you to be impacted by our speaker's passions and story today, especially how he empowers breakthrough into his goals and endeavors. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Phan to the podium.
Hi everybody, how you doing?
Okay.
Great. Well, my name is Phan. I am all the way from nice and sunny California. So when Jesse came and picked me up from the airport, I'm like, oh geez, I'm completely improperly dressed. Imagine me in shorts. It was like, you know. I'm so glad to be here. Victoria, first, tops to you. Thanks for remembering me and having me back. I'm honored to be here. Michelle, Annie, Jesse, thanks for everything that you've done for me to get here. And to John, his lovely wife, Trula, thank you, ma'am and sir, for supporting our cause of diversity in the APA community.
Yes, sir.
I'm so honored to be here, guys, because the fact of the matter is we have to break through, right? We have to break through the stereotypes, the reasons why we need to work so hard, 100 times, 10 times more than the other person next to us. And why is that? Is because of the fact that we sometimes start on a different plane. I often believe that, you know, there's a picture's worth 1,000 words. So what I did the last time when I was here before Victoria was basically play a little snippet of my life in review in 2 minutes. And after that, we can start with the rest of the story, all right? I'll be right back.
Phan was only a year old when his dad fled war-torn Vietnam in 1976. 7 years later, Chris and the rest of his family would join his father and resettle in Indiana. Chris was forced to learn a new language and adapt to a new culture. Meeting every challenge that came his way, he began to thrive in his new home. Chris would go on to graduate from college and eventually law school, always with the intention of giving back to the country that gave him so much. With that in mind, and a law degree securely in hand, Chris enlisted in the Navy Judge Advocate General's Corps. He has served honorably and courageously in the JAG Corps in Japan, Iraq, and at various locations in the United States. After resigning from active duty, Chris continues to serve his community in California. He was recently elected to the Garden Grove City Council. A decorated soldier, lawyer, city official, and former refugee. Tonight, Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service honors Lieutenant Commander Christopher Phan with the Walk of Courage Award for his courage and unwavering commitment to giving back to his community.
That's just a brief snapshot of where I've been, what I've done, but I want to give you guys more of a background about how it takes to get there. I'm going to date myself here. I'm going to ask you if you guys know this name, Judge Lance Ito. Who in here knows who Judge Lance Ito is? Oh, my goodness. I knew I was going to date myself. Okay, how many people know who O.J. Simpson is? More raised hands? All right. Judge Lance Ito was the judge who presided over the O.J. Simpson trial. I had the honor of meeting Judge Ito this past week, and it was at a dinner. And he, you know, you would think a judge was very formal. He would actually, you know, have a suit and tie on and everything. He didn't. He came with a polo shirt, and it had this, like this picture of a turtle on a pole. And so he comes up to the front of the stage and he's like, whoo. And I'm like, what the heck is that? And he's like, this is a turtle on a pole. What do you call it? Victoria, what do you call a turtle on top of a pole?
I have no clue.
John, any idea?
I don't have any idea.
Any takers? It's called a pole turtle, right? When you see that image of a turtle on a pole, what is the first thing you think of?
I can't even think.
Nico, you're the president. You know what this is all about. When you see a turtle on top of a pole, the thing that should come to your mind is, how did it get there? Right? How the heck did the turtle get on top of the pole? Right? Well, how do you think a turtle got on top of the pole?
Climbed.
Michelle? Who said the turtle climbed? I want you to do an experiment and try to put a pole and see how fast the turtle can climb up the pole. It doesn't. The bottom line is the pole was there, the turtle was there, and somebody put the turtle on the pole, right? The analogy that the judge and I make was that when you see a pole turtle, it didn't get there by itself. Somebody helped it get on top of that pole. The same thing for us in life. Basically, where we come from and where we're going, it really has very little to do with us. We are the driving force naturally, but along the way we have friends, we have supporters, we have family members who help us to get to where we are. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is being a pole turtle and being appreciative of what we have. Because like many of us in this room, maybe we didn't come from this country. For me, as you saw from the video, I was actually born in Vietnam in a place called the Mekong Delta. Have you heard of the Mekong Delta before? Anyone here in geography or anything like that? Mm-hmm. What's your name? Alex. Alex? Where's the Mekong Delta? It is. Basically, the Mekong Delta is it starts way up in China, and the Mekong River flows all the way down, and it flows into the Pacific Ocean. Well, my hometown is a place called Vinh Long, which is right off of the Mekong Delta in Vietnam. So what happens is, like in 1975, there's this event called the Vietnam War. Who's heard of that? All right. So basically, overnight, we lost our country. My father apparently was at that time south of Saigon, now Ho Chi Minh City, but it was called Saigon at the time. So when the communist government, the regime, went into Saigon and took it over, my father was south of where our home was. So he was basically cut off from the rest of the family. So immediately he took off to the high seas with American troops and left my mom and me at that time, 1 year old, to fend for ourselves. And so we didn't know if he was alive or dead until the next 8 years of my life. One day I was at home and we got a letter from America. My dad had finally sent for us and said, hey, within the next few months, I'm going to send for you and our son to come to Indiana. So, imagine here I am, 8 years old, not knowing a word of English, coming to a place called Indiana. And I still remember getting off that plane right after Christmas. It was one of the most harrowing things I've ever went through in my entire life. I came out of that plane, again, dressed in shorts, as I always do, and there was at least about, 10 foot of snow waiting for me as we were leaving the airport. And that wasn't bad enough, because what happened was after Christmas, I came into a room like this, and it was filled with blonde-haired and blue-eyed children. I wish I opened the door and came to a room like this, but that wasn't the case. So I knew right there and then, guys, it was sink or swim time, And I'll tell you later how that experience helped shape who I became much later in life. So basically, I grew up in Indiana, was as, white bread as one can get. I had to learn very quickly how to adapt, how to speak a new language. But again, it was the people who I met along the way that really helped who I became. So as you're making your way through life, make your contacts, keep your contacts, and always treat each other with respect, because you never know how that person will affect your life later, all right? But as I went through life, I realized that the one thing that I wanted to do was give back to America. I think we all want to do that, because I think we all feel a certain commitment to this country. And I'm sure you've heard of President John F. Kennedy. He had this great saying that says, don't ask what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And I invite you to do that, because when you do that, you give back tenfold. The path that sometimes you take in life may not earn you money, may not earn you personal wealth, but what will earn you is something much, much more, which is basically an appreciation of life and what it can bring to you. So I ask you to think about that phrase and remember and take it to heart as you're going through school, as you're going through life, to take that one step farther and give back. But for me, it was giving back to America for what's given me. I came from an oppressive country, had no future, had no life, and America gave me everything that I could have asked for and more. So it didn't take me much to just join the Navy when I got done with law school. Now, when I started with the Navy, I wanted to someday serve our community. My goal in life is to run for office someday at a young age. The reason why I want to do this is because in Vietnam, there's no opportunity to run for office, even if you wanted to, because it's an oppressive communist regime. You had to know somebody to be in with the party in order to have any success. So in America, you can be whoever you want to be, you know? So I wanted to run for office someday to represent our community. Well, growing up as a child in Indiana, I didn't have a lot of exposure to the Vietnamese American community, but I would vacation in a place called Garden Grove, California. And right there, it's a mecca of Vietnamese American culture, because everybody who was a refugee or an immigrant from Vietnam, that's where most of us landed, except for my family. So what happened was I went to vacation and said to myself, someday I'm going to come back to Garden Grove and I'm going to campaign for office. And mind you, this was at the age of 12 or so. So this all is a pipe dream at the time. But I knew that military service was the way to go, because of the fact that it gave me a chance to serve our nation, but also if you're running for office, and for all of you who do plan to run for office, I encourage you to run for office someday. Think about that, because it will give you your edge in life and your race or your campaign. Is when you're talking to people and you have that military service, it makes all the difference in the world. But at the time, I was 27, just getting done with law school. I didn't really care yet about running for service or how the details of it was, but I wanted to serve. So my first tour of duty was in New Jersey. It was basically 4 months before 9/11. And I still remember, guys, that day, that fateful day, my back was turned to the New York City skyline. And when that first plane hit, I didn't see it hit, because my back was turned to the skyline, getting my briefcase from the car. I turn around and I'm like, holy smokes, what just happened? I went to the ship that I was supposed to be going to do a court martial, which was basically a